Now I'm recording.
We did it.
We did it. 3 women all around the world, coming from different spaces and times in the universe, coming together today. Yay.
I love your earrings.
I know, right? I had to compensate for the braid. The braid is good, but it's not the same as my goddess hair. So I put on some goddess earrings, right?
Love, love.
Love, love, love. Okay, so I'm going to look at our Facebook group, or maybe Elena, you could look at our Facebook page and double check that we are live and being received by our community there on the Simply Sacred Company Biz page. We are 3 Superfly chicks
We are.
who created this Superfly biz called the Simply Sacred Company. And one of our overarching missions is to bring people back to the circle and bring women back into the circle and to have the remembrance of why it's important and receive all of the magic that they receive of being in community in a safe place to have brave conversations. So our intention for today is to have that conversation about why we think this is so important, how this can help our planet, how this can shift our self, our relationship to our friends and our sisters, how this can shape our communities, and then how this can eventually also shape our work. And so we're super excited to be with you today. Lindsay, you want to do your magic and bring the magic in and pull us all together before we get going?
I would love to. There is so much going on, as I'm sure you all feel in your worlds, in your bodies, in this space, in the collective. And so it's super important when we come together, even if it's on a virtual platform or social media or however you may be receiving this video, that we take just a minute to actually claim the moment in time in which we're coming into contact together. And so I would love to just invite you to take a moment to turn off the buzzers and beeps, to actually place yourself right where you are right now. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes if you're able, and if you're not, that's okay. You can join us in oneness of heart and mind, even just by placing a hand on your heart and placing a hand on your thigh. Just feel your body. What an incredible thing it is to be born in these times, to be alive in this moment, and to have the privilege to circle with women. Women have been circling since the beginning of time, and the fact that we can do it today from wherever we sit, wherever we are, with whatever resources, is a tremendous blessing. So we give our gratitude and thanks that we have the ability to come together in this moment. And I want to invite you to identify something that you're feeling grateful for. It could be anything. It could be a cup of warm tea in your hand. It could be a funny moment with a loved one this morning. It could be something that you're excited about that's in the field where you are right now. Whatever that is, I ask you to not just think about that gratitude, but to actually feel that gratitude in your body. So that what we're doing is creating a web or a matrix of gratitude right now across all of us who are here together and all of those who will find it later. And from this place, we extend that blanket of gratitude in all directions, encompassing all things, things spoken and not spoken. We step fully into this sacred circle together, and our hearts and minds are now one. And I welcome you. And I thank you for prioritizing that and giving us the chance to invite you into this sacred circle.
Yes, so all of our sisters are starting to join in. So excited to see them here. And we just wanted to have this conversation because our work organically has developed over the years to have all different forms of circles. And one of the circles that we're doing live with you right now is what we would call a virtual circle, right? Is just a come, let's gather, let's circle up, sisters, and we can do it online. We can do it through live stream. We're so blessed with all of these different forms of technology now. But the 3 of us have been doing different forms of circles through our whole business model. This has been something that's been a core piece of our work from the beginning. And now with what's happening on the planet, I'm curious to hear from those who are watching live or later, Are you feeling more called to gather? Are you feeling more called to find your circle of support? Are you feeling more called to lead a circle of your own? And if so, you're in the right place, because that's the conversation we want to be having. We want to have a conversation about, hey, it feels like the world is going to hell in a handbasket, like what the heck is going on? We're having people, releasing trauma. There's sexual harassment and assault. There's, natural disasters happening left and right. There's, racial discrimination and harassment and white supremacy and hate crimes, and all of this is going on. And it's clear that we're in this unique time in history that, we probably all signed up to be here and be part of this transformation and this light work of moving the planet forward. But part of what we're really, as the founders of the Simply Sacred Company, putting a stake in the ground and saying, we believe not only that sister circles and women's circles are important, but we believe that they truly can be the way forward, and that they're going to be a big piece in this shifting the paradigm on the planet to moving forward towards connection and community building and supporting each other. Because at the end of the day, when all of this is falling apart and we feel so alone and we don't know what to do, as soon as you can find one other person or two other people, or go to your church or go to your school circle, immediately you feel less alone. Immediately you feel supported. Immediately you feel like, okay, there's hope. There's light at the end of this tunnel. And now what? What's next for me? And so whether you're showing up as an individual looking for solace in community, or you're showing up as a member of a larger group of people, or you're showing up as a leader in this space of, hey, people are feeling really lost and feeling traumatized and they need support, and I want to play a part in it. This is the time. And so this is what we're here to talk about. Lindsay, can you share how this is showing up in your community and your work, and why you feel fired up about circles being the way forward?
Yeah, absolutely. So I live on the central coast of California. I actually moved out of Silicon Valley in the Bay Area to move out to the country. And interestingly enough, in retrospect, I can see now that one of the reasons that I did that inner call for me, was because I wanted to be somewhere that had a sense of community. I was looking for a village in a villageless world. I was looking for a sense of belonging and meaning. And one of the beautiful things that has emerged for me here is a sense of a consciousness and awareness that when we bring people together, powerful transformation can occur, whether that's women, whether that's elders, whether that's multi-age circles. And so it's been in my consciousness for some time, not only that there was this inner craving and desire to seek it, but that it's beginning to happen naturally again, that we're being reconnected to our original instructions that tell us that when we come in circle, as Celia, you said, we feel better. All of a sudden we feel witnessed, we feel seen, we feel safer, we feel like our children have aunties and uncles and we're not doing it alone. So this kind of awareness has been brewing in the field for me for some time. My work online and privately with clients is very much at the intersection of new paradigm thought and new paradigm business with modern mysticism. And also in those circles, what I'm hearing is women especially are awakening to this instinct, almost like childbirth, almost like the drive to eat or drink or have sunshine on their skin, that says, I got to get to a circle. I need to find a women's circle. How do you do what you do? How do you create circles? They see us gathering and they say, I want that. I want close connections. They hear about moon gatherings and they say, I'd like to do that. We have mystics in our community cropping up who are like, I just hosted my first moon circle. What do I do? What does it look like? There's like this inner march or drumbeat calling us forward to do it. And yet we've been separated from the hows and the whys for a long time. So I want to say that it's not only percolating up through the individuals, but it's percolating up through the collective right now. We're seeing a need to bring circles together in the corporate environment, in the 9-to-5 working community, in the entrepreneur communities, in the mama communities, in the homeschooling communities. Why? Because when we're in circle, not only do we have all those intangibles that Celia described about feeling better and feeling like we're more on path and there's more of a sense of belonging, because ultimately it's what's going to move us forward. It's where we get to release the trauma. It's where we get to align to our purpose and path. It's where we get to have group mind share. What you may be thinking is just you and your world might greatly benefit the woman across the circle because she's not quite there yet. And vice versa. What she's already got figured out is the thing that you're working on right now. So a really natural, organic type of synergy happens just when we begin to acknowledge and accept that circles are important, that they can show up in lots of different ways in our life and in our business, and that simply by saying, yes, I see the value and I see the need, and hearing that call and reconnecting to our original instructions, we start to access the capacity to have this kind of magic and meaning in our life. It is within all of us. It is part of our DNA. It is part of what we did as humans from the beginning of time. And we were separated from that for a long time. There was kind of a divide and conquer patriarchal mentality that had us do it ourselves, do it alone. And what we're being seen now is that the path forward is not a zero-sum game. It is not a model of competition, superiority, and hierarchy. It is a model of together we rise, together we move forward. And that shoulder to shoulder in circle, able to look at each other model is the antithesis to the hierarchical model that would have all eyes turned to one leader or to one guru. And instead we're being asked to take our place in the circle, find a circle, begin to think about how you could lead a circle, really engage in conversations like this one, to be activated to how are circles showing up in different communities and in different ways. And I definitely see that awareness is awakened right now across the field.
So powerful. And I love your bringing in the historical perspective. And that's part of why we're saying we believe that this is part of what's going to shift the planet forward, and why this can be a major piece of what needs to happen on the planet to save the world and transform the world and heal the world. And if you're with me, sisters, and you're with that message, can I get an amen? Can I get a heart? Can I get a little love up in here? But really the remembrance that we came from, being in communal existence, and that's really our most natural set point. And that it's only been in the last, few hundred years, few thousands of years that we've been disconnected from the truth of living, arm in arm with our sisters working together communally. We've been taught that we're supposed to be living as individuals and be just thinking about ourselves and our own issues. And that's part of why we're seeing a lot of separation right now, as people are coming up against this of, you're different than me and I'm like this and this is my identity, instead of that oneness that I know ultimately we all believe in and desire. And that's part of why the circles are so important, I think, is because you can bring together so many diverse people and create a safe space to have those brave conversations where you can create a container where people are able to take "this is my identity" hat off and instead open themselves up to, this is what I'm experiencing, this is what I've gone through, this is the lens that I'm seeing it through, this is what I'm feeling, and then allowing other people to relate to them and to show up with that compassion that's so critical to having a successful and transformative women's circles. And I would love to know, I'm going to go to Elena next, but I'd love to know from those in the chat that are watching live, have you been going to women's circles? What has your experiences been? What have you loved? What haven't you loved? What are you thinking about for yourself? Are you thinking about creating your own? If so, what questions do you have? And we are going to, after we live stream here, we are going to still stay on the page and come back and do 3 different threads with you about women's circles, where we can dive in deeper into the logistics and what it takes and how to do it. And so all of that is coming. So we invite you to hang in here with us. So please let us know in the chat. There's a lot of great stuff coming through, and I'll get to that soon. So Elena, how about for you? How has circles showed up? I know one of the ways we came to really this piece of women's circles saves lives, saves women, is because you said that in one of the last conversations we had about women's circles playing such an integral role in your life. Can you share that piece?
Yeah, that's what was coming up for me. I was actually find myself getting a little emotional as Lindsay was sharing about circles and women, and just on so many levels. So I'll start with my little self circle and why it was so important for me, as I also moved to a new place when my son was born, and there was no one that I knew here. And I had this instinct. It was kind of in my DNA. I'm like, must find my circle, because I knew that what I was about to go through and was going through as a new mom and living in a new place and raising, co-parenting and doing all the things that involved, I knew that I needed someone to tell me I'm not crazy, to tell me that, yes, I'm feeling this too, and you are not alone. And it was the thing that saved me in a time where I could have descended into, the tired, depressed kind of, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening, I'm so alone kind of feeling. So in the conversations of, you yelled at your toddler too, me too, I'm not crazy, like you were up in the night too, and you did this too, and the laughter and the tears and all of that evolved from creating a circle of women around me was very instinctual, very healing. And I feel like it saved me as a person, as a personality, as a mother, as just at the core, which then influenced a lot of the work that I do. And I run a circle, as we three do, on the Divine Self-Care Circle, because I do believe that women circling virtually in person are the things that really connect us, that allow us to learn, allow us to grow, allow us to feel like, even though I'm walking this particular path alone, I have somewhere to go where I can connect, where I can say, blah, or not say anything, so that's on a personal level. But on a bigger level, I feel like I have been steeped in circles in a lot of ways for many lifetimes myself. I've had, even to the point where I've had like this reading saying, you've been doing this for a long time, and I can feel that. And then doing research on circles, one of the first actual archaeological digs discovered that communal living actually went in an actual circle, where they made decisions in a circle. And I know Lindsay has a lot of information and sort of experience in the Native community, and they still very much circle up and circle and make decisions in that structure. Because what happens when you're in a circle, if you think about it, right? Like when we're in the political landscape, there's like this pyramid where there's this person at the top making all these decisions, and then there's, down, 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 and all of us little people are at the bottom. That's a pyramid structure, and that doesn't feel very empowering. But what happens when you're sitting in a circle is everyone's voice gets heard. We all see each other. We're sitting on the same level, and there's so much empowerment in knowing that I might have a quiet voice, but I have a voice, and I can speak in the circle, and I can see everyone. So in terms of I can't remember if it was Celia or Lindsay, companies are going to co-op models, and there are more and more grassroots movements to where people actually feel empowered to say, I have a voice, I've got something to say, and how can we do that in a way that's meaningful and transformative? So for us as women, gathering in circle, yes, it's this thing that's healing and nurturing, and it can be super empowering in terms of, well, what does she have to say? Well, she feels that too. And I think maybe we can all be together more totally grammatically doing it backwards, but we can be more powerful together in circle. And what if we all made this decision? We all made a difference. So on the political landscape, on a societal change landscape, in our communities, I mean, it's almost like that Ants movie where they're like, wait a minute, there's 3 million of us and there's 10 of them. Can't we all just make a change? And so I think there's some real wisdom to water boils from the bottom, and we can do a lot more together in circle than we can individually in our own, sitting at our own computer terminal reading the news versus gathering in circle. So I think for me, I'm really excited about the possibilities, because it can seem very overwhelming to try to make change when things look really crazy out there. And there's been cycles in history where things look crazy, and we're in one of those cycles right now, and it can feel very disarming and very disempowering. And yet, what happens when we can gather and share? I'm like, oh, wait a minute, well, I've got these resources and you've got these resources and these ideas. What if we put them all together? What can happen? And that's the question we're exploring. What happens when women gather? Can we be more safe? Can we be more empowered? Can we have more voice? And we all believe that, yes, we can. And
yes, we can. Power to the woman. Yes, we can. Yes. And you're getting comments on how serendipitously the light is shining through. It looks like your branding, actually. It looks like your sacred geometry with like a nice little filter over you. You went from being like super crisp and really easy to see to now having a little bit of like a mystic fog over your face.
Yes, the sun goddess agrees.
Yes. So for those listening in, we want this to be interactive. And like I was saying, we are going to come after we do this live component. We will be live with you in 3 prompts coming up on the page. So please stick around for the open house, where we will literally be giving you lifetime coaching and intuitive coaching on what it's going to take for you to do a circle, because our main thing is we want this to happen. So this is about empowering and activating you, but also giving you really the encouragement to do this and to lower the threshold of what you think it's going to take for you to get out there and gather and really realize that even if it's not done in a business capacity, that this is part of almost like your social responsibility. So if you're looking for, how can I be a part of making, positive change on the planet? How can I give back? How can I step further into my leadership space as a sacred CEO? What is this going to look like for me? Well, one thing to consider is, can I invite, my dearest sister friends to my living room, to sit in circle and hold space and just talk about what's alive for us, and create some ceremony and create some connection and shared intentions, and allow women to leave feeling better than they came. I mean, so I'm curious, as you guys are listening in, what are you thinking? What type of circle might you want to create? What would it look like for you? Would it just be you and 2 besties and the 3 of you masterminding together? Would it be like I said, something informal, maybe in your backyard or in your house? Would it be a certain kind of theme? Really, the possibilities are unlimited. The point is that we want to activate you to this power that exists. For myself, the history for circles, I would probably say that I've been in some form of a sister circle as far back as I can remember. And certainly circles are not only women's circles. And as we've seen with all of the sort of uprising around sexual assault and even the issues around racial injustice, that there's a lot of people who are saying, I'm no longer going to be a bystander. I'm going to be an upstander. I'm going to use my voice. I'm going to recognize my privilege. I'm going to speak up and say, I didn't understand, but I want to know more. And that's what I grew up in. I grew up in a community of men and women, sort of the rainbow coalition of people sitting in circles, talking about what's the plan, what's our strategy, how are we going to change the world. And so it's funny that it's not funny. I guess it's like serendipity, but here I am 40 years later, sitting in another circle saying, how are we going to use these circles to activate our divine power within and change the world together and rise up together? So for me, though, I can say in my work, Women's Night Out has been the live women's circle that I created from day one. And that was just an opportunity to bring women together that I felt were not being heard and did not have access to a lot of the amazing transformational work that was happening on the planet, but just either we're not having access through affordability, or we're not having access through consciousness, or we're not having a way in. And so I always saw Women's Night Out as a form of service. This was something that I was doing to give back. And my goal was to do an event that I broke even on. And as long as I could, pay for the event and make enough in ticket sales so that I, broke even, I felt like it was a success. And even sometimes I would not break even, and I still felt like it was a success, because what happens is the magic that happens when you create a safe container through women's circles is transformative. You're inviting people in that don't know each other at all. And this is what happens in Women's Night Out. You come to what you think is a networking or a, wine and wisdom night, and you don't know what you're going to get. And you come stumbling in halfway anxious, halfway excited, and you don't know anybody there. And you come in and, I'm like, hey, welcome, and the sisters who have been many times are hugging everybody up. And then we're sitting in circle, and the main intention behind it, and which is our shared intention for women's circles is, 8 core things that women will be seen, heard, valued, honored, loved, awakened, aligned, and empowered. And when we focus on that, we know that we're creating this safe place, right? We're creating a safe place where people can have these brave conversations, create transformation in their life. And for me, as someone who I would say is a circle leader, would definitely feel comfortable with that title. It's always my intention that I create this safe place. And the reason that we keep saying safe place, safe place, safe place is because the reality is that we're seeing that most of us are not feeling very safe, right? And in one way or the other, whether it's subconscious or it's totally conscious or it's alive for us or it's been underground, it's very clear that as women, we don't feel that there's a lot of places that we can be safe. And we don't feel even that we have in our own existing communities a bunch of people that we like so much or that get us or that want to hear what's going on with us. And so what happens so much is we're dealing with so many things in our life. We're taking on stress, we're taking on anxiety, we're taking on more responsibilities and identities and roles. And then we just keep taking it on, taking on, taking on. We keep keeping all the stress inside of ourselves. And then we begin to deplete our resources. We begin to fall apart. We begin to have illnesses. We begin to be irritable. We begin to not be able to function on a day-to-day basis the way that we want to. And that's one of the reasons why being a part or leading a women's circle is a revolutionary act, because it's literally transforming the paradigm that's in place right now. Instead of saying there's not enough time on the planet for you to feel what you feel, or for you to fall apart, or for you to share an important story about your life, right? Which is the paradigm and the programming that we've been taught is like, just suck it up and be Wonder Woman, right? How many of you listening can debate with that or relate with that of feeling like you're Superwoman and that's the programming you've got is like, I'm a multitasking mom, or I'm a woman that can handle it all, like give more my way, I can do it, I can do anything, right? It's like that's how we've been programmed to believe that that is what is good and mighty and true as a woman. That's the existing paradigm. But what's in reality is that that's not serving us. It's not sustainable. We just cannot do it any longer. We will not do it any longer. And now is the time to shift the game, change the game right now, to put a stake in the ground and say, as myself, I will honor myself. I will practice self-care. I will make myself the number one priority, as Elena says. And from there, I'm going to gather my 1 or 2 girlfriends and I'm going to focus on my friendships and I'm going to strengthen my relationships. And from there, I'm going to seek out a community, by being brave and trying something new and going to a women's circle. Or if you're then transitioning into what we would call your sacred CEO role, which is where you're like, I am the leader of my life, of my business, of my livelihood, and I'm going to step into this in more of a leader way as a sacred CEO, then the question would be is what kind of circle are you going to run? Like, it's time for you to lead, sisters. It's time for you to lead. We are calling you out right now, whether you're going to be a part of our extended community and lead and follow what we have in mind, or you're going to do it your own way. It doesn't really matter to us. We want you to feel empowered so that today you can take aligned action. You can step up and take the next piece of action on this journey, which we would hope would be one of those things we just said, focusing on strengthening yourself. If you've got that down, you're feeling solid there. Focusing on strengthening your relationships with the women in your life, literally your friendships, your family. And then if you got that piece pretty good, then let's find a circle. And then if you find a circle and you're like, I love this circle thing and I really want to be leading it myself, that's when you're stepping into the sacred CEO role. So that's the journey that we recommend for you guys. And we hope that by listening to us today that you feel inspired and activated and motivated and supported that you can do this, because there's really no right or wrong way. There's no one size fits all. There's not a 7 steps model that you can do. There's the way that you're going to do it and the way that it's going to continue to evolve and be different each and every time you do it until it gets more and more true to you. And you begin to attract the people that are looking for what you So I want to transition us to the next part of the open house. But before I do, I just want to open it up to Lindsay or Elena. Do you guys have any other thoughts about why this is the time to rise? Why, we need to step into our leadership? Why circles can change the world? You're muted. You're muted. There you go. You're good.
Well, you've really touched on it, but I think it's worth circling back and underscoring that in the same way that we mentioned that we've been disconnected from this innate wiring, right? This thing that we actually know we want and need on a cellular level, that as a society and a collective, we have been following the rules of these collective myths that tell us why that's the right thing. These ideas like it's not safe to be in circles of women. I don't know if you guys have experiences like these, but I remember as a little girl, my mom actually had rules that you couldn't have a play date with more than one other person because, 3 girls together, that wouldn't work out. That'd be a bad dynamic. Or the more kids you'd have or the more girls you'd have, the more room for drama is what my mom said. There was this idea that women in circle would create drama. It would be catty. It would be unsafe. And those are some of the collective myths that we have all subscribed to, have been complicit in, that have supported our feeling that it makes sense for us to do it ourselves, that it's safer for us to do it ourselves, that actually stepping into circle would not be the good thing to do. And so I think it's important for us to come back to those myths and underscore them, because this is a time of paradigm shift. We are here to not only honor the call of what's coming up through us as individuals and through the collective and this awareness that's being awakened in all of us, but also to bust those myths that act like the chains that bind us, to actually disrupt the collective stories that would have us making choices that would keep us believing that we need to be separate, or that we are not leaders, or that we're better off, in the non-village model, you keep your eyes on your own paper, you don't listen to what's happening on the other side of the fence, you keep your nose down, and you keep connections casual. In a circle model and in a village model, just the opposite. You hear the baby screaming for 3 hours on the other side and the mama starting to lose her shit, and you actually go to the door and say, I have the energy to take all the kids for a walk right now. Would you like some time to take a bath? That's a fundamentally different model. In a patriarchal model, the mom would open that door and say, mind your own beeswax, and slam the door again. In a village model, a mama can say, yes, thank you, more please. Kids can go outside and play. One mama can take a bunch to the park. Multiple business owners can come together and share what do you have? This is what I have. Like, that's the model where we actually start to rebuild the fabric that has been so strained in these stories that we've been bought and continue to perpetuate these myths that have become part of our collective. And so I think it's important for each of us to take some time to really look at what are our own stories and myths. What are the stories you picked up on about whether it's safe or not safe? People, I hear all the time of, I always felt like an outsider. I felt different. I didn't fit in. One of the amazing things about coming in circle is there is no not fitting in. If all we do as circle sisters and facilitators is make sure there's room for everyone in the circle, that's what we've done. You notice that in a good leader, right? You hear someone who's bringing a literal circle of people together, and they'll say, let's spread out a little so there's room for everybody, or let's step in so we can be shoulder to shoulder and it feels more intimate. Like, these are basic instincts that once we come into circle again, we begin to activate too. And we realize there is no being outside. There is no different, because our differences are actually our strengths, that we balance each other in circle, that, like we said earlier, what might be easy for one woman is not what's easy for the woman across the circle. There's one other thing I want to hear what Elena has to say too, but there's one other thing I just feel like we have to presence, because it's a classic myth, but it's also a powerful threshold of alchemy, and that is, I'll cry, right? Get women together and someone's gonna cry. And that would be messy, right? That would be edgy. That is the number one reason, and I bet Celia's nodding and Elena too, for the same reason. That's the number one thing we hear women apologizing for when they're in circle. Oh, shoot, I didn't mean to cry. Oh, I'm so sorry. I promised myself I wasn't going to cry. the elders in the village would tell you that that is actually our job, that it is at least one woman's job in every circle to allow the actual emotions to flow, that our tears are healing. And again, patriarchy is the only thing that's holding us back from the true expression of those emotions. Joyful tears, tears of grief, whatever they may be, because they would have us believe that tears are a sign of weakness. I want to instead flip that on its ear and say, what if actually the container of a circle is what lets those things flow? What if instead they were a sign of our ability to be seen and to be received? What if you followed the adage of what you do for the one, you do for the all? And if it's your moment in circle to let the tears flow, what would it be to be present to them? What would it be to really allow ourselves to feel in? So I guess I wanted to bring that because I do think it's one of the most potent and perpetuated myths that somehow we can come in circle, but then we better keep our shit together. Actually, circle is the exact right container to let all of it come out and to do that in a safe and good way.
And so it is. I am going to chime in for the Divine Self-Care Mentor, who is very good with boundaries. You're off muted now, so it sounds like you want to say something, but go.
I just want to say one thing. I think what we've all been seeing that's really driving us is that there's women who are like, "Ooh, I think I want to run a circle. I think I want to start a circle. Maybe I can start a circle. No, I can't start a circle." And so we are here rooting you on, cheering you on to say, if you're feeling called to start a circle, you're here in this conversation, that keep listening because there's something really important about women standing up and saying, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I can do it. I'm going to try, and starting there.
And so it is. You can do it. We are here to tell you you can do it. We are a resource to you. We are a support system to you. And very soon I'm going to read some of the beautiful ideas that are coming up about the kind of circles that people want to start, which is exciting. And we want to just remind you that we're going to get ready to wrap up this live video portion, but stay on the page because we're going to hang out for the next 45 minutes or so and answer. The three of us together are going to coach intuitively for 3 different posts on different aspects of circles. But what we want to let you know is what we were hearing so much is, I want to start a circle, I don't know how. I want to start a circle, I don't know if I'm ready. I want to start a circle, but what does it entail? What do I need to do to actually do that? And so we were like putting our minds together. We're like, what is the deal with people feeling so like stuck around this circle thing or feeling like they're not ready to be leaders? And we're like, okay, I think that since this is something we've been doing, collectively probably for 25 years, that we need to be the people to lead this movement forward. And that's why the whole title of this is Why This Can Change the World, because we believe that it can save the world, heal the world, change the world, and that it really will be born through the collective of women coming together in women's circles. And so we created this awesome product that we're super excited about for you. It's called the Women's Circle Starter Kit. Okay. It's really just exactly what you need. It's just the amount of information you need to right now get the information to be able to run your first women's circle, or if you've already been running women's circles, maybe put some of the pieces together that have been missing for you. We talk about all of the history behind circles and why we think it's so important. We go into 3 core types of circles that we recommend you explore. We talk about an actual promotional calendar for you to keep in mind all of the steps that it takes in terms of beforehand, leading up to, and during. We talk about different strategies and techniques for you to do marketing, because we know that piece is something that a lot of people feel uncomfortable with, is how do I promote this? How do I tell people about it? How do I market it? We also give you a literal sample agenda of how to do a circle. So if you have no idea what you're doing and you're like, I just need some support, some tools, I need a template to follow, this is exactly what that is. It's bite-sized. It's everything you need, nothing more. It's $98. We price this so reasonably because we really believe that this should be accessible, affordable, convenient, easy, and simple for you. And we want to get this out to the masses. We want people to be starting right now. So again, this is the Women's Circle Starter Kit. It's an all-inclusive document that you get immediate access to. So if you register today, it's $98. Or, of course, we always like to have a payment plan. So we did put in there a 2-pay option of $55. So all you would need is $55 today to actually receive immediately instant access to the Women's Circle Starter Kit. And then you will see, if you go through the process, there is the opportunity, if you also want to get, there is 22 Women's Circle discussion prompts. So if you're like, okay, I'm running the group, I got the women together, now what do we say? What are the discussions that we can have, and how do I create conversation for this circle? And maybe you want to plan out your whole year's worth of circles. We thought ahead and we put together, again, 22 discussion prompts, which are the ones that we come back to time and time again. You do not need to reinvent the wheel. If you're feeling lost and confused and like, I want to do this, but I don't know how, this is what we put together so that it's simple, it's accessible, it's affordable, it's something for every person to use. So I want to talk to you guys just before we transition off here to talk about some of these beautiful circles that people are saying they'd like to create. Shelly says she wants to lead a new full moon mandala ritual with food, plants, flowers, with some opening and closing manifestation and burn rituals. Yes, please. That sounds like what we're going to do in Tulum. Allison says she pictures a circle of women cherishing and honoring the seasons and cycles of the moon, sharing tips and secrets, preparing good, nutritious foods, creating elixirs, supporting healing, non-judgmental, lots of candles, fire, and magic. Yes! So interesting to hear everybody's vision. I love it. Ariana says, I'd like to do a women's circle to start. It would be small, of course, but once I've gotten more practice, I don't see myself limiting the number of women who want to come and join. I just need a safe place where I can feel like I can breathe. Yes, sister. And I hope to provide that for other women. You guys, this is so good. This is making me so excited. Okay, Teresa says, my interest is in hosting smaller, intimate group of women with shared or common circumstances and or interests, mothers, long-term friends, book club, women in wine, sharing in food, movement, spirits, laughter, and shared strength. Lisa says she went to a women's business expo and put her stake in the ground, said I'm creating a circle and that she's ready. Okay. And yes, Elise is on the call. I love Elise. She says The Red Tent is a great book that shows all of the background of the community of why this is so important. And so it is, so much more. I recommend you guys, if you're interested in learning more about how to run a women's circle, if you want the play-by-play of exactly how to do it, the way that we do it, the way that we would recommend, this is the starting piece. This is exactly what you need to get going right now. And we will be joining in very soon, literally probably in 30 seconds or a minute. We'll be finding you over on the fan page, and we will be answering questions and doing spot coaching with you about what type of circles you want to create and what you need to do it, what might be standing in your way, and really setting some clear intentions and commitments and goals of what you're going to do to start your sister circle. So if you have been inspired and empowered by this conversation, we're so grateful for you showing up and being fully present. I'm actually going to hand it off to Lindsay so she could do the magic that she does to separate our minds, and then we will pop onto the chat with you very soon.
Awesome. Well, we all came from different places with different things going on in our day today, and we prioritize this conversation about circles, and that really is the sacred touching thing for Elena and Celia and myself, is the knowing that it's time for all of us to begin prioritizing this conversation. So we want to thank you first and foremost for allowing this to be part of your day and your consciousness and your plan going forward. So we're going to separate our minds from the oneness that we created to have this conversation and have this safe, sacred circle to have this conversation. We're going to transition, as Celia said, over into our prompts and our chat. But let's just take a moment to close our eyes again and give thanks for, again, the word that's coming forward is privilege. That it is a privilege, in fact, to be able to circle with women. It is a privilege to be able to take time out of our day to connect. And this is a privilege that really should be a birthright. So let's let this privilege sit into our bodies and soak into our cells, and then let's create ripples of that. What we do for the one, we do for the all. So for every sister who is not able to be here right now, for every sister who has yet to find herself in the conversation, who is maybe hearing the stirrings of this need for connection, we send this ripple of light out to them, to every corner of this earth, to every sweet space that she might be sitting in, so that she can feel our love, hear the call. And let's transition now so we can help you get your circle started today. We thank you. We truly do believe that circles are a part of changing the world. The Dalai Lama once said that he thought the Western woman was going to change the world, and I truly believe that it's the awakened woman in circle that will do that. So may you all be well guided, well protected, and well blessed on your journey, and we look forward to seeing you in the threads ahead. Thank you, everybody.